What's good, YouTube? Welcome back to the channel. This is the Texans Better Talk Show. A lot of people out there are hoping that the Texans draft a running back, and I understand the appeal. This is one of the most stacked and loaded running back classes that there's been in recent memory. Jawar Jordan probably doesn't get drafted this year, that late draft pick that the Texans had last year. But I say all that to say there is talent at this draft, at that running back position. If you want to draft Amari and Hampton at that 25th spot, you could. If you want to draft, maybe a Dylan Sampson or Ollie Gordon Jr. or a Caleb Johnson at that second round, maybe not all of them are there. Maybe you snag one. But all this running back talk really got me thinking, what if there's a way we could revive Dameon Pierce's career? I have some stats from his 2022 rookie season where he was the only bright spot for the Texans at that time. He had 202 carries, 939 yards, 4 touchdowns, and he averaged 4.3 yards a carry. I don't have to remind you of how physical of a back Dameon Pierce was back in 2022. Also, the offensive line, shocker, but wasn't that great in 2022. Offensive line had a PFF run blocking grade of 50.9, which was ranked 26th in the NFL, and an overall offensive line of 58, ranked 25th in the NFL. So definitely just a horrid offensive line with, Davis Mills, who just wasn't ready, and very little other talent outside of, Nico Collins. At the time, that wasn't Nico Collins that we know today. Dameon Pierce was the only person that was the bright spot for this team. Pierce put up 1,168 total yards after contact and 62 missed tackles. If you're wondering why that's higher, is because I'm counting in receptions now as well. But 1,100 yards after contact. So now we have to ask ourselves, well, what changed? It was clear watching the film that Dameon Pierce, was able to make up for bad O-line play by being confident and just taking a beating. I mean, he would bulldoze over people, and he also had a nice little spin move that he would utilize often to kind of escape and get out of tackles. But still, what happened to 2023? Well, I think the scheme changed. That's really the only thing I can point to. The biggest change being Bobby Slowick and the scheme. And don't get me wrong, I think the Texans tried to make Dameon Pierce work way too long in 2023. I think Devin Singletary should have gotten the nod way earlier than he did. I think Devin Singletary was the better back. I mean, that's not debatable. He was the better back in 2023. For whatever reason, maybe it was the scheme. Maybe we need to talk about the run game coordinator, who I believe is Cole Popovich at the time, or an assistant O-line coach. I don't know what happened, but I'm going to point to the scheme as being the basis of all these problems. And then if you'll remember 2024, the beginning press conferences, I don't know if you guys watched them, but Dameon Pierce basically said that he spent the time working, he took the offseason, he's ready now. And we were also excited because we had Joe Mixon now in 2024. And the idea was, hey, we have this guy in Dameon Pierce who has talent. We've seen it. He might be able to put together something, not having to be the bell cow running back. He can kind of learn and sit behind Joe Mixon. Well, the 2024 season starts, and for whatever reason, again, Dameon Pierce is still ineffective. He had a whopping 7.2 yards a carry in 2024. Those came from, a few big runs in garbage time, most notably against the Patriots, where he had like a 92-yard touchdown, if you'll remember that. But let's look at his total stats for this career. So his games played in the 3 years with the Texans has gone down from 13 to 14, so that went up to 11. And his carries really went down from 2020, his rookie season, 145, and then now 40. So yeah, the production, the carries, the trust. I mean, the Texans do not trust Dameon Pierce at all to run the football. The only meaningful handoffs that I can remember him getting were in the Chiefs divisional game, and I thought they looked okay. He averaged about 3.3, I think, 3.4 yards a carry in that game. He had some nice spins. He was making up for some yards. Joe Mixon kind of looked a little injured in that divisional game that would ultimately end the Texans season. But I can't help but thinking that with the Texans firing Bobby Slowick and hiring Nick Caley, I can't help thinking that maybe this new scheme will help Dameon Pierce. I think he's in his head too much. I think he's trying to just figure out the gap scheme, and he's hesitating. He doesn't know when to hit holes and all that stuff. But, I think his confidence is shaken. But I still believe he can get back to that rookie year Dameon Pierce, as crazy as it sounds, because we haven't seen it for 2 years. I understand that. I still think he has it in him. And you're going to get the best possible version of Dameon Pierce because he's going to be wanting an extension, and he has not deserved that right now. So you are going to be getting him on his best behavior. Now, one other cause of emphasis I will say when talking about this whole kind of thing is there was a time, it was in CJ Stroud's exit press conference for 2024. They interviewed him at the podium. I believe it was his last podium at the end of the season. And they were asking him, thoughts on the season, what happened, what went wrong. And CJ Stroud said, I'm going to paraphrase this because I don't remember it, but he basically said that he felt like that players became too one-dimensional and basically weren't allowed to do things. And I could not help thinking of Dameon Pierce when he said that, because the only thing the Texans trusted Dameon Pierce to do was be a kickoff returner. Now, I have to imagine that's Bobby Slowick's doing. Bobby Slowick was the head offensive guy in the room, and I have to think that Bobby Slowick, didn't trust Dameon at all to even touch the rock in 2024, and instead put him on kick returner. And Dameon Pierce is an amazing kick returner. If Dameon Pierce is your running back 4, that's fine because he can still be a great kick returner. We've seen that from him. I just really think there's something more there. I think that this rookie season, Dameon Pierce has been so romanticized, and rightly so, and I really hope he can get back to it. But I couldn't help thinking of him with that Stroud quote, and I also really couldn't kind of get the image out of my head when we're playing against the Chiefs in the divisional round. And he's looking decent. I mean, he's got some shiftiness to him. He's spinning around. He's trying to get extra yards. He's getting hit at the line and still gaining some yards. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that the 5 carries he had or whatever it was in the divisional round is enough to qualify him as a running back too, but I would not be surprised if this new Nick Caley offense benefits Dameon Pierce and really uses Dameon Pierce's attributes to his advantage. I think Nick Caley can get something out of Dameon Pierce. I think he can pull something out of him. Just use his traits, that fierce running, that demeanor. And I really think Bobby, might have hindered him. And I get what the pushback is going to be to this. I understand. Bobby made him the starter, obviously, his first year, Stroud's rookie year, and he didn't perform. I understand that. I understand he was unplayable Stroud's rookie year. I understand he was arguably unplayable this year. I just have to hope it's a scheme thing. And I'm not saying Dameon Pierce is going to be an 1,000-yard rusher, or he's going to be a 1-2 punch, the likes of like what the Lions have with Gibbs and Montgomery. But I just really feel like he can be a solid running back too. That might be a little rich. Maybe it is. But I really think that Dameon Pierce can be a solid running back too on the Houston Texans in the 2025 season. But let me know what you guys think. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more content. I will see y'all in the next one, man. Shout out to all the Texans fans. Peace out.